Over the skies of North Vietnam, America brought what was, without a doubt, the most advanced air power the world had ever seen. The expectation? Total dominance. But what actually happened was something completely different. It was a brutal, 7-year duel that pitted the most cutting-edge technology against pure, unadulterated cunning. This was the first truly modern air war, and believe me, its lessons are still echoing today. Okay, let's dive right in by meeting our two main contenders. So on one side, you've got the American F-4 Phantom II. I mean, this thing was a beast of a machine. We're talking supersonic, packed with powerful radar, and just bristling with up to 8 air-to-air missiles. And on the other side, the main interceptor for the Vietnam People's Air Force, the VPAF, the MiG-17. It was, well, a lot simpler. Subsonic and armed not with fancy missiles, but with 3 heavy-hitting cannons. So you look at those stats, right? And you'd think this would be over before it even started. And you know what? American military planners, they thought the exact same thing. They absolutely expected their technological superiority to just sweep the skies clean. But as their pilots were about to find out, the reality of combat was going to be way, way more complicated. And that reality check, it came fast. The very first engagement sent this massive shockwave through the US Air Force, and it shattered pretty much every single assumption they had about what modern air combat was supposed to look like. You know, this sentiment, it's often linked to the thinking of Defense Secretary Robert McNamara, and it just perfectly sums up the American doctrine at the time. The future of air combat, or so they believed, was this clean, long-distance affair. You'd lock on with your fancy radar, you'd fire a missile from miles away, and you'd never even see your opponent. Dogfighting with guns? That was a relic of the past. But this high-tech armor had some serious cracks. The problem wasn't just the missiles, it was the whole idea built around them. See, they were designed to shoot down big, high-altitude Soviet bombers, not to tangle with these small, nimble MiGs. Down low, the radar was blinded by what they called ground clutter, literally, the Earth itself, which made getting a lock almost impossible. And this is crucial. The missiles had a minimum range of about 3,000 feet. If a MiG got inside that bubble, the missiles were basically just expensive, unguided rockets. And to make it all worse, early F-4s didn't even have a gun. And you know who knew these weaknesses inside and out? The Vietnamese pilots. They were being expertly guided by ground-controlled interception, or GCI, and their entire strategy was built around exploiting these flaws. They knew if they could just survive that initial long-range missile shot and get inside that 3,000-foot bubble, the mighty Phantom suddenly became a toothless giant. And that strategy was put into terrifying action in one of the war's first major air battles. Picture this. A flight of American F-105 bombers, slow and heavy with bombs, just orbiting and waiting. Completely unseen, VPAF MiGs dive on them from above, closing the distance in just seconds. By the time they opened fire with their cannons, they were way inside the missile's minimum range. 2 American jets were shot down before they even had a chance to fight back. The shock was just profound. So, stunned by these losses, the US realized it couldn't just stick to the old playbook. It had to adapt, and it had to do it fast. This kicked off a rapid push for new tech and new tactics to counter the VPAF's ambush strategy. So the US countered on 2 big fronts. First, to see the enemy coming, they deployed these specialized aircraft that could actually detect the MiG's transponders from huge distances, a total game-changer for early warning. And second, they brought back the very weapon they had called archaic, the gun. They literally started bolting 20mm Vulcan cannon pods onto the F-4s, finally giving them a weapon that worked up close. And just look at the difference that made. I mean, this data from mid-1967 is just stunning. The super sophisticated radar-guided Sparrow missile, it had a kill probability of just 11%. The heat-seeking Sidewinder was a little better at 17%. But the new cannon pods, a staggering 55%. The gun was back, and wow, was it devastatingly effective. So with these new tools, better detection, and a weapon that actually worked up close, the tide turned dramatically. In the spring and summer of '67, American pilots just went on a tear, racking up kills, shooting down dozens of MiGs, and taking very few losses. The VPAF was hit so hard they practically vanished from the skies for months. For the first time, it really looked like American technological superiority was finally going to win the day. But the VPAF didn't just disappear. They couldn't match America's new tech, so they countered with something way, way cleverer. A complete revolution in their tactics.
They developed this incredible tactic called the bonsai, which translates to the wagon wheel. It was a defensive formation perfectly designed to play to the MiG-17's biggest strength, its amazing maneuverability at low speed, and to exploit all of the F-4's weaknesses.
So here's how this deadly trap worked. A group of MiGs would form a huge horizontal circle, flying really low to the ground. Now, for a much faster F-4 to attack a single MiG, it had to slow way down and enter that circle. But the second it lined up on one MiG, another MiG in the circle would be perfectly positioned right on its tail. The low altitude completely messed with the American radar, and the constant turning made getting a missile lock pretty much impossible. It was a tactical masterpiece. I mean, this quote really captures the absolute nightmare it created for American pilots. It turned what should have been a one-on-one fight into a many-on-one ambush. The wagon wheel was this incredible piece of coordinated, team-based defense, and it just completely neutralized the F-4's speed and its technological edge. And the results? The results were, as one historian put it, electrifying. By the end of 1967, flying both the MiG-17 and the newer, faster MiG-21, VPF pilots using these tactics were achieving a mind-blowing kill ratio of over 5-to-1 against American aircraft. The pendulum had swung back, and it swung back hard. So what was the ultimate result of this incredible back and forth, this constant cycle of innovation and adaptation from both sides? Where did it all lead?
It led to a stalemate in the sky. It became this brutal, high-stakes chess match where every single advantage was met with a clever counter. The US had the speed and the tech. The VPAF had the maneuverability and brilliant ground control. The US had long-range missiles. The VPAF mastered the close-in cannon fight. Each side was just forced to constantly evolve to survive.
The bottom line was this. For all of its power, all its wealth, all its technology, the United States never truly owned the sky over North Vietnam. The skill, the resilience, and the brilliant adaptive strategies of the VPAF pilots meant that every single mission into the North was a dangerous gamble. The Vietnam People's Air Force themselves claimed a total of 320 American aircraft shot down in air-to-air combat over the course of the war. That is a staggering number, and it's a real testament to just how effective they were in this long, bitter conflict. In the end, this assessment from historian Marshall Michel really says it all. The fight was just too balanced. It was too contested for anyone to claim they had true superiority. It was a battlefield in the sky that belonged to no one. And that really leaves us with this question, doesn't it? This was a war of missiles versus cannons, of radar versus the naked eye, of raw power versus pure strategy. It's just such a powerful reminder that in any conflict, technology is only ever part of the equation. Human ingenuity, adaptation, and the simple will to fight, those can be the forces that completely level the playing field.